Ladies and gentlemen, I'm host for today's broadcast, Stint 13, and today we are going to get underway for the 5th round out of 11 of P1R's SEC Enduro, a monthly event where every month a new 6-hour endurance event is hosted. I'm your host for today's broadcast, Stint 13. I am joined today by TNR VER Callum. Callum has been a former driver in this series. He stepped back a little bit so he can put a little bit more focus on some other events going on, but he will be joining us in the broadcast booth for at least Stint 1, and will likely be here for Stint 2 as well. Callum, welcome to the show once again. And it's Watkins Glen. It's a relatively simple track. There's not any super complicated sections here. Heading into this event, what is the most important thing for you to start with?
The way I see it, first thing of the day, you just want to try and get your car across the line safe and not have any accidents. Because there's nothing worse than having the pace and then making a mistake or being involved in someone else's accident. Which obviously just drops you towards the back for Stint 2, and then from then on it's just a case of trying to gain them positions back. So yeah, the first thing, it's just a case of staying out of trouble, get what you can of it, so you're in a decent position for Stint 2.
Alright, very wisely said. You have a lot more of a calm head on your shoulders than I do. Some interesting things have changed within the series since the last time we've ran. Last time, Mercedes once again absolutely dominated at Spa a little bit more than a month ago. New BOB changes have been made, but not to nerf the Mercedes. It's instead, the changes have come out to compensate for 2 new cars. A new Porsche has been brought into the mix, and now the Ford GT has been replaced with the Ford Mustang. Now, if you already were in the Ford GT3, the GTE Ford GT, you could stick with that car if you so desired. From what I understand, most drivers are more interested in running the Mustang, primarily because the Mustang has a potential of being faster in a straight line and will be a little bit more modern, will be a little bit more in line with the body style and driving style of all the other GT cars. Other drivers from other teams have already gone ahead and swapped to the Mustang as well. And real quickly, let's go ahead and look at the driver list for today's event. Once again, I want to give a shout out to P1R Turk. He is going to be running in that number 12 Chevrolet C8 Corvette. And Turk is going to be the host of today's lobby and will be hosting the other 2 lobbies as well. ZR Berserk is one of the drivers in a team that is sticking with the Mercedes in that number 150 Mercedes. NWR Mav is in the number 77 Ford Mustang GT3. We're really interested to see how this Mustang performs on track. NDL Micro is in the number 62 Ferrari 488. ESL Decoy is in the number 16 Chevrolet C8. Beast Baller. Every time I see this guy's name, I think to myself, there's no way a Beast will be balling, but Beast Baller 88 is still out there in the Chevrolet. JSR Craviator is in the number 3 Acura NSX. Indio Uzora is actually sticking with the Ford GT, interestingly enough. So, like what we saw last month with having 2 different kinds of BMWs on track, today we're going to have 2 different kinds of Fords on track. We'll have the Mustang GT3s and we'll also have the Ford GTs, which is a platform that's almost 9 years old now. HYR Mamba is going to be in the Mustang GT3 though. NDL Avocado will be in the C8 Corvette. Deleve is going to be in the number 64 Mustang. NWR Zula is going to be in the, I believe that's the 802 Chevrolet. NWR Slow is going to the number 45 Mustang. NDL CJRC 1110, who I affectionately call him Circle Jerk, he is going to be in the BMW M8. Then ESV Green is going to be back in the Mercedes AMG in the number 38 machine. Keep an eye on the ESV guys. They've won almost all of the events thus far this season. We're expecting to see that continue today. There's just no stopping ESV right now unless you're able to figure out a way to force a disconnect on their end. EX Armetta is in what I believe is the number 331 Chevrolet. P1R Bunter is in the Dodge Viper, the number 8. So very interested to see that. NDL Pipes is going to be in the BMW M4 GT3, the number 96. So we have 2 different kinds of Fords and 2 different kinds of BMWs running in today's event. ZR Ruiz Racer is going to be in the 106 Mercedes. And then we have TNR VER Callum, who, while he's shown here and being in a Mercedes, really he's going to be in this booth with me, right? Right?
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, so we're looking at 19. There might be one more person who has yet to show up. But I believe we're looking at 19 drivers for today's event. There's been just kind of a gradual fall off in attendance as the season has gone on. Some drivers have not been able to maintain commitment to this. Obviously, I've talked about the changes in the BOP. We now have 2 new cars, but it doesn't look like anyone jumped into the Porsche. Now, that could change. Maybe someone will jump into a Porsche, and they've just not gotten in the lobby yet. Other thing to consider, though, it's not going to be in Stint 1, but it will be in Stint 2. In the second stint of the event, there is a moderately high probability of rain. And this is big news for 2 reasons. One, rain. A lot of these drivers come from backgrounds of things like TASCAR or Tora. They only do GT3 stuff. Most of them never do prototypes. Most of them never do NASCAR. Most of them never do IndyCar. Back when it was a thing in the last game, most of them never do anything else. They only do GT stuff. And as an extension, most of them never practice in anything other than ideal conditions. You never see them doing anything with the wet weather tire. You never see them racing usually with excessive tire wear. This is probably the first series for a lot of these drivers where they actually have to deal with the increased tire wear. This series runs at 3.5x tire wear. So rain could catch a lot of drivers out because it's not necessarily going to rain through the entire second stint. And again, this is not the second stint, this is the first stint. So I'm talking about what will happen 3 hours later, but this is really important to say though, because teams will have to reorder, okay, who do we think is going to be best in rain, put them in the second stint. So we may see some teams swap up their driver lineup. But the other thing is that it's not guaranteed rain. Most series that I am aware of, some that I've run, some of my friends have run, some that I've taken part in, it is very on or off. You know there is rain or you know there is not rain. It is a 100% chance or a 0% chance. It's a 60% chance, 6-0. So a little bit more 50-50. There's a possibility of rain. And if the rain comes, it will be thunderstorm rain. So it will be one of the heaviest versions of rain that you will get in the game. It will be so heavy, it will be hard for us in the broadcast booth to really even see what's going on. But we don't know if that's going to come. There is a high possibility that I'm gassing everyone up now, and we just never get any rain. There is a possibility that the entire weekend is completely dry for these people. So do keep that in mind. There is a significant possibility of rain, but it is not a guaranteed one. As it looks like we are about to load onto the circuit, I'll try to knock out one more ad break here, and then we will get underway with going through the starting order. All right, real quickly, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and run down through the order. NDL Pipes will be starting on pole in the number 75 machine, followed by the 28 Team Noodle Chevrolet. Then it will be Indiel Circle Jerk in the number 51 BMW, followed by ESV Green, the 38. This is the lowest we've seen an ESV driver start one of these events. And have we just had a lag out? Yeah, it looks like we may have had a lag out by ESV Decoy, and that may necessitate a lobby redo.
And it has, yep.
Well. Okay, so I guess we'll be waiting again for them to re-rack and restack. All right, yeah, I'm still spectating. I had liveries working on my screen, so...
I have a feeling this stint isn't going to go to ESV. I reckon it's going to be one of the NDL teams.
It would be very interesting if that ends up being the case, considering that ESV has won 3 of the prior 4 Enduros we've had thus far, and I think they've won like 10 out of the 12 stints across those 4 Enduros. Now, one of them they lost due to a disconnect, and I think that one of them that I've not covered, they lost due to just being beaten on track. So if they don't win, it would definitely really shake things up. But in the championship, they are building up a respectable lead early on, and we're almost halfway through the season. Okay, take 2 here. As everyone tries to get lined up again here. Okay, so once again, going through the order here. It's going to be NDL Pipes in 75 at front, then NDL Avocado in the 28, NDL Circle Jerk in the 51, ESV Green in the number 38, NDL Uzora in the 424 DT, followed by ZR Berserk in the 150, NWR Zula in the number, what is that number? That is a 108, I believe. JSR Craviator in the number 3 Honda. Then you start with ESL Decoy. Decoy is in the number 18, followed by NDL Micro in the number 50 Ferrari. Then you get ZR Ruiz Racer, who is in the 106 Mercedes, EXR Meta, who is in the 331, then the 4GT of NWR Mob in the 77, then it's Leave in the 64, followed by NWR Slow in the 45, HYR Mamba in the 290, P1R Bunter in the number 8, Beast Baller is starting next to last in the number 12, and P1R Turk rounds out the field in the number 12 machine, as we prepare to get underway here. And we're already off, halfway up through the S's. Avocado did not get the launch he wanted, and Circle Jerk is immediately putting him under pressure. Circle looks right behind, puts the nose halfway to the inside, but does not commit to the move. And everyone in the top 3 everyone in the top 5 touches the dirt. The Avocado goes deep into dirt, compromises his run through turn number 9 here. And it looks like Turk's already lagged out early on. Maybe he was only hosting, not going to run. But that means we're down to just 18 people. But anyways, Avocado, despite completely botching the run out of the bus stop chicane, is still maintaining second. And now ESV Green is already putting Circle under some incredible pressure here in the toe of the boot. This is one of the most difficult sections of the track to get traction on. And Green is struggling, and Uzora goes off with him. They both barely keep the car straight, but now Uzora is under threat from Berserk.
I think Uzora's going to try and hold it on the outside. Just about got it. Nice driving there.
The biggest strength of the Ford GT is that it is incredibly competent in the corners. It doesn't really have a lot of straight line speed, but it is very, very competent in the corners.
Pipes is already starting to get a little bit of a gap while C-Jerk is putting Avocado under pressure.
So everyone's still single file. It looks like everyone's figured out where their positions are going to be. Not a lot of changes early on in this event by the looks of it. But
No,
our
it
top
looks like
three,
a nice clean start.
our top three all still run relatively close to each other. Although Pipes is doing everything he can to try and open up the gap. And once we're another lap or two in, we'll start looking at the tire life. Because one of the most important things in this series is all about tires and how the tires fall off. Do you want to be on medium tires early on and give up track position and instead run the softs later when you're in cleaner air? Or do you want to go the other way? Is track position early on important, and then you can afford to bleed it off later with the harder mediums?
I've already noticed now with this BMW M8, it's got so much higher top end compared to the Corvette. And he's got to decide what he's got to do here, because he's got Green breathing down his neck. And if he's just going to keep pushing Avocado, it might give Green a chance to get past. So it's interesting to see if he's just going to stay behind or if he's going to have to try and get past Avocado here.
They're all running basically nose to tail going down the straightaways here. Again, we have two different kinds of BMWs running this event. The big boy M8, which is currently running third with a circle in it. And then farther down the grid, you'll have the M4 BMW. Something else of interest is that unlike any of the other events thus far this season, the first stint here today is at night. Most of the other stints have started midday or late in the afternoon and then end at night. This one starts just no holds barred. It starts at night. So drivers under slightly different circumstances than when they normally are. ESV Green almost always runs the first stint in these events, and normally he runs on a nice, clean, and brightly lit track, and that is the exception today. Here comes Circle to the outside, and now Green looks to his inside, and they all fall back into single file.
Yeah, you can see Avocado is holding up a little bit here on the straights. It's going to get a bit feisty soon though. Someone's going to get a bit impatient.
While this continues, let's go ahead and take a look at the tire life of the various drivers here. NDL Pipe's already at 20%. We've only done about 3 laps, so it's very likely that he is on some variant of the soft tires. Avocado is at 22% right now. NDL
Zulu is trying to get past Berserk. They touch each other. Zulu gets past them both. They've lost 2 positions trying to get past one another.
And Berserk is continuing to fall down the order.
Superbiator.
The only thing that's going to keep him from falling out of the top 10, honestly, is the fact that it looks like Uzora is dealing with a little bit of trouble and he slid back behind, but also Meta and Micro are stuck in a fight between each other a little bit farther back.
Yeah, Berserk and Uzora were 5th and 5th place, and now all of a sudden they're back in 8th and 9th due to them colliding into that one turn.
And during all that fighting, Zula, Decoy, and Creaviator have all picked up a small amount of distance penalties. Now, Watkins is a track that's a lot easier to stay on track for, so I don't imagine the distance penalties will get nearly as high as what we were seeing last month at Spa. But still, you need to keep your eye on those distance penalties. You do not want them to go up. And again, you do get an extra point if you complete a stint without any distance penalties whatsoever. Oh, here comes Uzora on Berserk once again. The 4DT doesn't have the straight line speed to make anything of it. Oh, Uzora through the dirt. Uzora stays ahead of Meta just for the moment, but Berserk finally has some clean air behind him. Doesn't have to deal with that massive pressure.
Also looks like Pipe is getting caught up by the 3 behind him here. So maybe these 3 are working together to try and catch back up to Pipes.
It might also be that the tires are falling off. Pipes is at 30% tire wear. Avocado's tire wear is sitting at 31% right now. Cirque in third. His tire wear is sitting at 31%. ESV Green, I imagine it's going to be a lot lower. He's probably going to be on some variants of the medium tires. No, 30%. So everyone at the front of the field are running what appears to be softer rubber. You have to go all the way back to... No, Zula in fifth is on soft tires as well. 33%. What is going on? Has the entire field elected to start on softs? As I look down the grid, everyone looks like they're running soft tires potentially. So that would be very strange if we have no tire strategy whatsoever, at least in the first set. Everyone is just showing their legitimate pace on tires. But yeah, everyone seems to be equal to each other on tire life. I'm already back to 12th, who is Ruiz Racer. There we are, Ruiz Racer in 12th is the first driver who looks to be on a harder tire compound, likely trying to knock out a set of mediums early on. But the top 11 drivers all on softs, and this means that more than likely we'll see all of those 11 hit at the exact same time. Zula and Berserker having a bit of a fight here in the middle of this giant pack that's formed behind Graviator. There's like a half dozen or more cars, all with a blanket thrown over them.
Avocado's made a mistake, running a bit wide.
Zula tries to put the power down the Chevrolet, but you see it kicks the rear out, and Micro in the Ferrari further back is dealing with some real issues sliding the car around. I will say, the NDL team of Micro and... I forgot the other driver's name they normally have in Stint 2. But the NDL Ferrari team, they're really just kind of keep trying to punch above their weight. It is known that the Ferrari has a very unique engine layout and weight distribution that makes them very, very hard to work with. And sometimes those cars are just awful. But when they hook it up, those Ferraris are silent killers, and we've seen them steal top 3, top 4 positions in stints. But man, it always feels like you never know what you're going to get with those Ferraris, as we see Micro has another big twitch. Zula's falling off the back of Graviator just a little bit, but all it would take is one good draft going down the back straightaway, and you can be right there behind Graviator again. One thing that I'm moderately surprised at is that the majority of the field hasn't really spread out, and we're not seeing people at the back of the field fall off the pace completely like we normally do. Everyone seems to be clumped together, and packs are about 3 to this massive 8-car train here. We could go the majority of this race seeing no one or almost no one go a lap down. It seems like everyone's really got their pace picked up today.
Yeah, this is one of them tracks where slipstream is definitely a key factor here, where if you could just about hang on under a second to the car in front, you normally just get pulled along. So I'm not going to see too many drivers end up driving around on their own, depending on their pit strategy, of course.
Berserk went for a big lunge on Zula and kind of got blocked in the process. It held up Meta there. No one in this pack seems to be able to get away from each other except for Graviator. Graviator has actually opened the gap on the rest of this field right now. And now real quickly we look at the head of the grid, and like you were saying earlier, sure enough, Avocado, Cirque, and Green, they have all caught NDL pipes. So now it is a 4-car train all running not quite nose to tail at the head of the field. These guys are actually doing a good job keeping a bit of a gap between their car and the car in front of them. So if the person ahead has a little mistake, has a bit of a bobble, you're not immediately plowing to the back of them and killing your own momentum at the same time. This is not NASCAR Super Speedway racing. Sometimes to maximally use the draft, you want to keep some distance between you and the car ahead of you.
Pipes is really struggling with his tyres now. You can see his car twitching a lot more than what it was.
Yeah, those rears look like they're absolutely shot right now. And that's the big difference with having rear tire fall off versus front tire fall off. When the front tires are falling off, it's really just a big case of I can't turn into the corners. It feels like a lot of induced understeer, and that ultra low speeds, it'll feel like oversteer. There's not really any corners here with the low enough speeds to do that ridiculous oversteer, but you'll feel a lot of understeer here. Once the rear's falling off, though, you'll see what you're seeing with pipes, and that's the car is just kind of walking itself rear first off of the ideal racing lines, having trouble holding the lane. The rear end looks really slidey, like it's listening to too much Eminem as he's singing his song Shake That, you know. Just, it's one of those cases where you can really get an idea as to how someone feels with the confidence of the car. Now, there are obviously ways around it. You can always put more rear downforce on. That will increase the life of the rear tires, and it will increase the handling stability. But the meta in Forza is to run maximum front aero and no rear aero because of the way the aero drag numbers work in tandem with the downforce numbers. It is almost a perfect linear relation that you have in this game as opposed to real life in most other racing games where it is closer to an exponential relationship.
Well, we've got our first pit stops happening right now. We've got a couple in the pits.
Yep, Craviator, Decoy, Berserk, Zula, Mav, Mamba, and Beastballer have all pitted, so this has moved Ruiz Racer up to 8th, and again, I keep an eye on Ruiz Racer because he is the highest rating of all the drivers not on softs right now. One thing I will say before we see this first round pit stops for our leaders here, at least early on, it looks like the BOP has absolutely worked fantastically. We have 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 spots. We have a BMW GT3, in 4, we have a BMW M8, we have a Chevrolet, and then we have Green, who is in a Mercedes. So it looks like we have gotten a really good, competent BOP. And I do not feel sorry for the officials. I feel excessively sorry for the officials that have to put these cars together. It's so hard to figure out what the minimum or maximum performance of these cars are. You never know who's going to rock up with something. We'll find a hole in the physics engine to really make a car overperform. The fact that they've been able to get something working today is a breath of fresh air and a blessing. The people here at P1R who have helped balance the cars, they are finally in a good position being able to knock this out, and I'm very thankful for that, as our top 4 all are in the pits now. Pipes, Avocado, Circle Jerk, and Green. Next driver on track is Uzora, but Uzora is coming in, so is EXR Meta, so is India Micro, so it should be Ruiz Racer, who is on the medium tires. We will see him go to the head of the field now.
And I wonder where Craviator will come out, because he was the first car out of the pit, so we'll see if he's gained any positions during the undercut.
Yeah, especially considering that before he made that stop, he had no one around him. So is he going to be able to pick up any positions at all? He's ahead of Micro, he's ahead of Slow, but it looks like our top 4, Pipes, Avocado, Circle Jerk, and Green, they all stay ahead of him. Deleve is still on track here in the 6th position, and they are on medium tires, so they're going to go long, and I believe that goes for P1R Bunter, who is in the Dodge as well. No, the Dodge is going long on softs. That Dodge has got some really worn tires, but that's the thing with the Dodge that we've seen. All the Dodges in this game, they have a lot of torque, but they do not have a lot of top end. And the big thing when it comes to tire wear in this game is that the faster you're going into the corners, and the more speed you're taking mid-corner, the more it causes your tires to wear out. The Dodges just do not hit the same top end that any of the other cars do in basically any category. That means that the Dodges are able to preserve their tire life a lot longer. So Bunter is able to go a lap farther on his tires than leaders, and 2 laps farther than most of the drivers who are around him at the moment.
Berserk is desperately trying to find a way past Decoy here. Oh, he might have won this time though. He's going to look down the inside.
Big dive into the heel of the boot.
And I think, yeah, he's got him.
Yeah, it looks like Decoy's just not really going to try and fight back. In fact, Decoy really seems to be struggling getting that car back on track, because now Decoy is under threat from Zula. When our bunter finally stops, but he's able to go 2 laps farther on tires than everyone around him, 1 lap farther than the leaders. That could be something interesting for that team to keep in the pocket and for us to remember later on. ESV Green
picked up a bit of a penalty, I see.
Yeah, this is really unique. Normally, we do not see this from ESV drivers,
Yeah.
but Green has picked up a time penalty, or a distance penalty, and no one ahead of him, Pipes, Avocado, or Circle, have done so. So this could get really interesting here. Highest penalty on the grid right now is ESL Decoy. He is at exactly a 1/10 of a mile worth of penalties. Big twitch by Avocado. He went for a move on Pipes, going to toe the boot. Couldn't keep the car under him and slid wide. The only reason he didn't get hit from behind is that CJ was able to keep enough of a distance to let the Chevrolet save himself. But still, big slide by Avocado in one of the slower corners on the track.
He will be glad it's his teammate behind him, that's for sure, because if that was Green, he would have gone for it for sure.
Already, Pike seems to be showing a little bit of struggling with keeping the car under him. And we're only about 3 laps into the stint, but already Pipes just seems to be wiggling the rear of that car a lot, mid-corner and on corner exit. And now I have to wonder, maybe it's not tire wear that's the issue. Maybe it's that BMW M4 needs rear downforce, but he is so interested, so focused in chasing the meta that he is willing to compromise his handling for the sake of potentially faster laps. But if he keeps sliding and bleeding off time mid-quarter like I see him doing again, going through the S at the top of the hill, it may not be worth. That's kind of the thing when it comes to the meta in racing games now. You know, as recently as the last generation, the PS4, Xbox One generation, run the meta, it doesn't matter. Now, there is a little bit of extra technology, a little bit more. Oh my goodness! Big slide by Pipes right in front of Avocado! He drifts going into turn number 9! He finally gets the car under him, but Avocado will come right up under him! Nose to bumper as they head into the boot section once more!
Yeah, and they're catching Rouge Racer at a speed of knots at the moment, so it could get even more spicier. Oh, this
Pipes
is about
had
to
a
get
big
interesting.
slide. Yeah, Pipes had a big slide, but Avocado does not seem to want to pass Pipes. I think Avocado wants to just run behind Pipes and use the draft. I don't know if he realizes, but Pipes is basically the cork in the bottle. He is slowing all 3 of these drivers behind him up. If they want to go for distance, they need to get by Pipes as quickly as possible. But Avocado, I think, is so focused on just trying to get the draft, he may be hurting himself, might be cutting his nose off to spite his face. Pipes way offline as they come out of the boot now. CJ and Green sees this going on, they back off, and Ruiz Racer finally pits out of the lead. Oh, Pipe slaps the outside wall. Driver door flush with the outside. He'll keep most of his speed up. DeLeve will go ahead and make a stop as well. So with that in mind, all of our drivers have now knocked out a pit stop. I'm curious to see where Ruiz Racer ends up, because Ruiz has been on a harder tire compound, but has been running a lot of these laps in clean air. He was 12th before he pitted. Where is he going to be now? Well, it looks like he's still going to be 12th. It is not going to actually change anything for him. Now, if he's on softer tires, he might start picking up time here. What I'm going to do is, we're about to start another lap here, and I'm going to go ahead and we will ride on board silently with NDL CJ in the BMW M8 for a full lap around Watkins Glen, so you guys can really get an idea as to what a flying lap looks like here around Watkins Glen in the middle of the night for one of our leading drivers. We're going to go ahead and round board for a lap a little bit more silently here at Watkins Glen. Welcome back to Watkins Glen, as we have spent a full lap around board with CJ. At the front, the dynamics have shifted just a little bit. Avocado has really backed away from Pipes, so Pipes is in clean air. Meanwhile, CJ is now being under attack by Green. Green gets to CJ's rear bumper, pushes him wide, going into the S's. CJ gets the momentum though, puts himself back in front of ESV Green, but this is the first time we've really seen Green have to get elbows out. Normally,
oh, he's going to try the outside yet.
He's got him! He's got him! He goes! He's got the position! He is through!
Yes, CJ decided to back off on that.
So Green seems to think that now is the time to go. He has waited a long time before actually releasing the potential of that Mercedes, but now he is finally gone. And Green moves from 4th to 3rd and now starts bearing down on NDL Avocado, with NDL Pipes a little bit higher up the order. Look, I know you said before this event started that you didn't think that ESV Green was going to win this, but I'm going to be honest, Green still looks like the fastest person and the fastest car out there right now.
He sure does, but with 2 NDL cars, I'm sure they're going to give him a fight and a half.
JSR Craviator runs in 5th position right now, kind of in no man's land in that in SX. He is too fast to be held up by the people behind, but he is not yet fast enough to catch the top 4. I'd be very interested to see if Craviator actually has the pace to run down our top 4 as this goes on. The other interesting thing that's changed at the front is that Avocado's backed off of Pipes so much that Pipes has got clean air in front of him, and he's got about a 2nd and a 10th behind him as well. And now Pipe seems to be running a lot more smoothly. I do know that one feature, some people call it a bug, but I would honestly argue it is a feature, as we're seeing green flag stops again for drivers farther down the order. But one feature that this game has is that you have kind of a inverse aero wash. In real life racing, when you're behind another car, you're dealing with the aero wake that makes you faster in a straight line. That's known as the draft, but it makes you slower in the corner. That's the aero wash. This game has a bit of an inverse of that. If you are right behind somebody's rear wing, it will actually cause the person ahead of you to lose a little bit of downforce over the rear of the car, and will make the rear of the car more slidey. But now the gap between Avocado and Pipes has opened up enough. Pipes is not sliding around. Excuse me. Excuse me.
C-Jerk has not let Green get away with like 70 aero wash. Green cannot get a gap away from him.
Apologize. But as I was saying, because of the way the inverse aero wash works, I think now that Pipes has got a bit of a gap between himself and Avocado, he can actually put down a lot more smoother, cleaner laps, and is not completely blowing or sliding off corners like he was before. And these drivers are all almost at the end of their pit stop cycle here, mind
you. Yeah, Green is catching Avocado, but he's taking C-Jerk with him. So I don't think this is going to be over yet between Green and C-Jerk, especially if Avocado starts to hold him up just a little bit.
Top 4 all stay out on track for another lap. A bunch of drivers farther back in the grid have already gone ahead and knocked out a pit stop farther back in the middle of the field. Real quick, I want to take a look at Ruiz Racer and see what kind of tire life they are on. Maybe they're trying to cut out pit stops. No, I think they're on softs. Ruiz Racer, I think, is on softs. He has caught NDL Micro and gone by Micro right now, so I think Ruiz Racer was under the impression that you need to knock out one stint on the medium tires and then go the rest of the way on the softs, and he's elected to knock out his first stint on the mediums at the start of the race. And considering he ran most of that very first tire stint in clean air, this might work out in his favor. Maybe he can steal a top 6, top 7 or something. I'll be interested to see how that turns out. Slow, Berserk, and Beast Baller, all near the rear of the grid, have all gone ahead and made their second stops of the day. Berserk is actually on his 3rd stop, so something's happened to Berserk that I missed that has warranted him making an extra stop. I don't know what's going on there to cause that to happen.
I know he's in a gaggle of cars racing each other hard, so maybe there was a bit of contact. Who knows?
Yeah, that could be it. As this continues, though, Pipes has really opened up the gap on the other 3. Avocado is honestly about to come into Green's clutches, and CJ has finally lost touch with Green, but that might change here as the top 4 all come into the pits. I find it interesting that this series does not have a rule regarding the pit lane entrance lines. Everyone's taking the normal racing line out of the final corner and then cutting the car really hard right into the pits. Most other series I'm familiar with require you to use the proper entering and exiting lines. All right, here comes Ruiz Racer out of the final corner. Is he in a position to actually make up any position against the other drivers on track? We know that our top 4 should still be well clear of him. But he's by Uzora. He is by Meta. Yeah, Ruiz Racer is almost at the back of our top 4. This could get interesting. And CJ is right there behind Green. The fight for third is back. Green has to defend against an angry BMW M8. CJ backs off big going into the bus stop chicane, but now Ruiz Racer is starting to run CJ down. And this could be big for Ruiz Racer, because if Ruiz Racer ran his first stint on the mediums and is still on the tail of the leaders, even with worn out tires, this could have some big implications.
And
the other thing that could have... Go on.
If CJ and Green aren't careful, they are at risk of losing the pace to Ruiz, and that would be disastrous for them if they want to try and win this race.
So as far as I can tell, it seems like the soft tires can last about 15, maybe 16 minutes around here. This is a 2-hour event. Knock off a minute or 2, but realistically it is a 2-hour event. You do the math, 15 minutes goes into 2 hours. 8 times, that would be 7 pit stops if you just want to go soft tires all the way through. But Ruiz Racer, is he on a strategy to try and make a 6th stop happen? Cutting out a pit stop could be very important here, because the big thing to consider is that when you are on a track with a long front straightaway and pit lane runs all the way along it, pit lane has a more impactful negative impact on your time. If you're on a track with a short front straightaway with a short pit lane, pitting is not nearly as problematic. The longer the pit lane is, the more you want to avoid it. Watkins is one of the longest pit lanes in the game relative to the lap time. There may be legitimate value in Ruiz Racer not running all 7 pit stops. Now, I say that Ruiz Racer has not kept up pace with our top 4. He is gradually dropping off, but still, it's very, very impactful that he is already in a position that he could cut out. It is a big if, but he could cut out a pit stop here. That could launch him way higher up the order later in the event. That's something very important to keep an eye on as this goes on.
Another note to take a look at is Uzora. Remember, he was fighting for a top 6. Now he's down to 11th. He's definitely struggling in that Ford GT.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue there is that the Ford GT really needs draft to help. I have never seen a BOP in any series in this game, Forza 7 or Forza 6, that was able to get the Ford GT good straight line speed without making it ridiculously OP. On Watkins Glen, that honestly isn't as much of a problem, because at Watkins you can get draft, and the draft will help you make up a bit of ground, but I think Uzora has turned too many laps without any draft, and like you said, now he's really struggling with the overall lap times of the cars.
Yeah. Vito trying to get past Micro. Yeah, he's got it cleanly done. He is obviously on fresh tyres, but he needs to get that move done as quick as possible.
Micro is also on, I believe, medium tires right now. Micro is trying to make his second tire stint be the one on medium. So if everyone is under the impression that you have to knock out a medium tire stint, I guess there are several drivers saying, hey, let's knock them out really early on in the event. P1R Bunter, who went really far on the softs in the first stint, is doing it again now. So he's only now making his second stint. So P1R Bunter is able to go about 35 minutes on 2 sets of tires. So that would be about 17 minutes or so on a set of tires. That's an entire extra lap. Would that be enough for Bunter to cut out a pit stop as this goes on? thing is that it might be enough for Bunter to cut out a pit stop, but Bunter does not seem to have a lot of speed or pace today. He has legitimately not been one of the fastest drivers. He's honestly been one of the slower drivers today. And I don't know if that's because of an issue between the steering wheel and the seat. I don't know if that's an issue with the setup in the car. I don't know if it's the issue with the car itself, just not having a straight line speed. I don't know if maybe the car is perfectly fine, the driver is perfectly fine, the setup is perfectly fine, but that Dodge may just need to spend time in draft, and Bunter has not spent a lot of time in other people's draft today.
We've got a nice fight going on for last place at the moment between Hitfire Mamba and Beast Baller. Now, one thing you need to remember, the Mustang is new to the game, and obviously it means it's new to the series and to the drivers, so Mustang doesn't look very quick at the moment, but give it time. They need to learn the car, get used to what setup works, and you never know, further down in the year they might be more competitive. But it's good to see them fighting in this series.
Yeah, one thing that should really help the Mustang now is that there are 3 different Mustang GT3 entrants in this series, all across different teams, obviously, but that would suggest that there is enough effort going into the Mustang platform that information and numbers will eventually be shared, and we should see the Mustang get more and more competitive as this goes on. I think if there was only one person running the Mustang, I would be very concerned, but seeing 3 different teams running the Mustang makes me a lot more confident that someone can turn the car around and make it competitive. As long as it doesn't become, you know, the single car that defines the entire series where half the drivers are running it and 8 out of the top 10 are all in the same car, I think it should be good. But here comes Beast Baller now. It's American power on American power at the back of the field like it is in almost any international competition.
And the interesting thing there, I wonder what aero Mamba is running on that Mustang, because Beast Baller just absolutely drove past him like it was nothing.
Beast Baller also has slightly fresher tires as well.
Yeah.
These drivers are about a half a lap down right now. And I think at the rate it's going, they will probably go a lap down, but I don't think they'll go 2 laps down. Well, at the head of the field, it seems like it's all calmed down. CJ keeps Green in his sights, but Green seems to have CJ's number. As the stint goes on, he pulls away. We're going to try and knock out another ad break here, so when we come back, we can see the field as they start their 3rd round, the pit stops here at Watkins Glen.
Untypical, Green makes a mistake.
I didn't see it. What did he do? I was looking at Avocado's numbers.
He broke a bit too late, went wide, and C-Jerk went straight past him.
Wow, that is really not typical at all.
Nope. And as soon as an ad break comes on.
I mean, they had all big gaps between them. I thought I would be fine to step away.
Well,
he's coming back, though. Yeah, he's got around on the outside. Is he going to cross him over on exit?
Oh, maybe. No, not quite.
I assure you, though, that Craviator is loving this, because this gives Craviator a chance to maybe run this duo down by the end of this.
Well, he's just pitted now.
Oh, yeah, Craviator's just pitted. I wonder if Craviator's just knocked out his... No, that's his 3rd stop. So is Craviator burning through soft tires faster than everyone else now? Zula's pitting? Yeah, I guess they're burning through tires faster, huh?
I think it must be.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen, and what you're seeing on track is not a replay, people. This is live. Once again, Green is behind CJ, and it was a driver error, and it was Arco host in the booth here who saw what happened. And once again, the Mercedes trying to look. But Callum, go ahead. Tell us all what happened that caused Green to fall back behind CJ here while we were away.
So this very corner, Green went absolutely wide, missed David Talley, and CJ just went straight underneath him and straight past. And now what you're seeing now is Green trying to get that place back, but it's an unlikely error by Green. And as you can see, Green is not going to let third place go.
Green is tucked up right behind the rear wing of the BMW all over again. And Green has to be so frustrated at this because we saw in the first tire stint, in the second tire stint, in the third tire stint that as these go on, Green has CJ's number. But it doesn't matter if you can't get by. And gaining overtake to stick is so difficult here at Watkins Glen because of how powerful the draft is. And Green is tucked up behind and he's got to be screaming and he's got to be throwing his controller in anger. Actually, I hope Green is not throwing his controller in anger because he won't be able to drive anymore, but he has got to be absolutely livid at his mistake and livid that now he can't get by this BMW that he's already gotten by once in this race.
And Pipes and Avocado be loving this because they know it's their own teammate that's fighting him, and he's going down the inside now, and he's got him.
Big dive bomb by Green, but it made it too much.
Cut back.
That was perfect! David Pearson style cutback and crossover, and CJ holds it over Green. The other thing that started happening while we were away is that we saw Zula and Craviator, who was all the way up in 5th, go ahead and make stops, and now Decoy is stopping. So now it looks like a lot of drivers are really trying to randomize and change when they want to make their tires change and when they want to get onto new rubber. So now we're seeing drivers paying earlier, paying later, and all of the tire strategies that we were talking about earlier, now they're all completely deviating from each other, and we're going to see a lot of really weird one-lap overcuts, one-lap undercuts all the way through the field. It's just the top 4 that really have no difference in strategy between them.
Cedric has the best tire out of all of them at the moment. The others have got a tire on the front and rear. He's only got it at the front. So this will be also slowing them down with Green fighting him so hard.
Also, the leaders are honestly not that far away from catching lap traffic in the form of HYR Mamba. Now, granted, I do think that we're likely going to see our leaders make a stop in the next 2 laps, if either this lap or next lap, but they will have to deal with traffic sooner rather than later, and that could hold them up here.
Yeah, and if I was Pipes, I would be sweating knowing that as a thought. Because as we saw...
Here comes Green to the outside of CJ in the last corner! Can't make it stick!
Green is
wide! Green gets off sequence from the other 3 drivers in the top 4!
No, this is about to get interesting.
Yeah, now we talk about that infamous paying the piper. You can go ahead and you can stop early if you want. There is nothing against you stopping early, but if you stop early, you've got great tires against everyone else early on, but you have to pay the piper because then you will be losing tires faster than everyone else, and by the end, you will not only be on worn tires, your tires will be more worn than everyone else, and you have to pay the piper. Green is going to love being in cleaner air now, but his tires are going to be hurting much more later in the event. So Green has to be very cautious doing this. He can't just go crazy, burn his tires up, get him into track position, and then have no tires left either at the end of this tire stint or if he keeps taking 1 lap early for the rest of the run. He doesn't want to be in a position where in the last 10 minutes he has no tires. So Green has to be very thoughtful, very careful with this strategy. But considering what happened between Green and CJ there, this might be the only thing that can work out in Green's favor. He is off pace, does not have the ability to fight or run away like we normally used to seeing him do here.
Maybe my prediction was correct, which I'm shocked about. I would have expected Green to be fighting for the win, but at the moment he's fighting for 3rd, which is, like I said, unusual for Green. I wonder if the Mercedes isn't suiting his driving style for this track at this point in time.
Yeah, you have to wonder where it is. Is it a setup issue? Is it a driver track incompatibility issue? Is it a car track incompatibility issue? Maybe it's none of that. Maybe it's the fact that he's running at night. Normally, Green is running daytime stints. This event is the first time this year that the first stint is at night. Could it be that his setups that he puts on the cars are more ideal to running at daytime and it's not at night? One of the things we see our top 3 all pitting, I believe Meta is going to join them, but Meta, we have not really talked a lot about him right now, but he has cycled his way into 4th at the moment. Now he's going to pit with the leaders and will fall down the order. Meta's having one of those silently strong days.
gonna
acceleration
be
to
tight.
CJ. And Green will have the
Green
momentum
should
out
have
of
it,
turn
yeah.
one. He's got
And
him.
he's gonna
Oh
also
boy,
have a
did he
one.
get him. He
Oh yeah,
is
he's also going to have a
destroying
one
him.
with the top two as well.
But again, the big thing though is that Green will have to be aware that he is basically a lap behind the strategy now of CJ behind him and the two ahead. CJ might not be too much of a problem though for Green, because as the stints go on, CJ seems to deal with more tire fall off than Green does. But Green is still basically an entire lap behind.
Graviator actually isn't far from CJ, so Graviator's been slowly gaining on CJ as well by the looks of it.
Yeah, I do think Craviator is a sleeper pick for fourth, but I don't think Craviator has the speed to do anything to our top three of Pipes, Avocado, and Green here.
Doesn't look like it, but he's definitely giving it a good go, and it's good to see.
Rua's racer, who ran the very first tire stint on mediums and is now just doing softs to the end, we believe. He is in another Mercedes. He is currently 7th on track right now, kind of in no man's land, although Micro, who is in 8th, is trying to run him down at the moment. Uzora is running in 5th position in that Ford GT. I imagine that he would be hitting, not this lap, but probably another lap or two. I think this stint is on mediums for him. And Uzora now under threat from Craviator. The Honda comes to the inside, neck and neck through turn one. And Craviator clears Uzora without any issues.
Yeah, Green's got past Avocado. We missed it. Green has managed to get past Avocado.
What's happened to cause this? Is Avocado on a harder tire compound? 7%
Well, he's got
for...
44% fuel in his car, and Green only has 22 fuel, so I'm guessing
Yeah,
Avocado's
I
on
think
medium.
Avocado is on medium tires by the looks of it, because Pipes is still burning through his tires, and Pipes and Avocado pit at the same time, but Avocado only has about 2/3 of tire life. So I think Green got by just because Avocado is knocking out a medium tire stint now. I imagine what's going on is that a lot of these drivers are saying, hey, we need to run one stint on the mediums. When's the best time to do it? I'm guessing Avocado is assuming now. And this might work out okay for Avocado if he can keep the car under him. He can use the draft off of ESV Green to pull him a little bit faster down the straights, make his lap times a little bit higher, and not lose as much speed on the mediums. But with the lap times Green is putting in right now, I don't know if that's going to work. I think this was just a matter of tire offset.
Yeah, C-Chuck is also on mediums because he's also got 42% of fuel. So the top two on softs, and the third and fourth positions are on mediums.
And speaking of third and fourth positions, fourth place is now under threat. Craviator has caught CJ. He is behind him by only about 2 car lengths.
Yes, they're on a different pit strategy, but Craviator is on softs, and C-Chuck will not be liking this.
Craviator make a big dive into turn one? No, he's smarter than that. He'll hold back. He'll think. He's going to try and figure out when the best time to make this move is. Is he going to try and do it on the straightaway? No, he wants to get alongside the S's. He goes to the inside of CJ, puts the bumper to CJ's right rear. CJ keeps the car on track though. Craviator has to back out a bit.
That was so close to being an accident there. He just caught C-Jerk's rear right, but C-Jerk saw he was there, so he gave him the space, luckily.
They go through the bus stop chicane once more. CJ throws up a spray of dirt into Craviator's windshield as they go through turn 9, and now they do the run into the boot once more.
And he's going down the inside now.
A little bit of contact, but yes, he slides in front of him.
And he's got it.
That was, I won't say that was smooth, but that was well timed. It was definitely not smooth. They made quite a bit of contact, but that was well timed on Craviator's part.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of had to be done. Craviator knows on mediums, and if he's got a chance of trying to get at least Bob, he maybe had to try and bodge his way through, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's a very accurate statement. You might as well just barge your way through, because the gap, the time delta gap between soft and medium tires seems to be so extreme that even when someone in medium tires gets your draft, they cannot keep up with someone on the soft tires. So yeah, for Preaviator, he had to make that move as quickly as possible. Hey, all's well that ends well. One bad news for Preaviator, though, he is now at 1/8 of a mile of distance penalty. In fact, at this stage of the event, as I go ahead and I look at the distance penalties, the only drivers who do not have distance penalties at this point, our leader, NDL Pipes, has no distance penalties. NDL Micro, who is in 7th, who's just coming to the pits, he has no distance penalties. And then you have 3 drivers farther down the order. Believe in 14th, ZR Berserk in 15th, and NWR Mav in 16th. All those drivers have no distance penalties right now. So 5 drivers are still vying for the possibility of that 1 point given at the end of the stint for finishing a stint with no distance penalties. Well, while Green disposed of CJ and Avocado without too much issue by doing that 1-lap undercut, he is really not running down Pipes with any significant speed. The gap between Green and Pipes has honestly stayed about the same. The only difference is that Avocado is not in between them. But the gap is also big enough that Green and Pipes realistically are running in clean air. Neither of them are getting advantages of draft or disadvantages of aero wash. They're just turning laps in pretty much clean air right now. Big thing is, and I said it before and I'll say it again, Green pitted a lap earlier than Pipes. His tires will fall off a lap sooner than Pipes. So they are now on a bit of a tire offset going forward. Green is going to, every time he pits, he's going to have a lap where he's super big ahead, but then his tires will drop off a little bit more as the stint goes on. The other thing to consider, though, Green may not struggle with this too much. If Green knows that he has to jump onto the mediums at some point, he may say, okay, well, look, I'll just keep maximizing the softs and I'll just run mediums at the end and just force a little bit more out of the mediums. Yes, the mediums will still fall off. The mediums aren't imperative or impervious against fall off, but fall off on mediums is not so bad. When you already have tires that aren't super grippy and they lose their grip, it's not nearly as significant as having a super grippy tire that loses its grip and handle.
Berserk is trying to salvage what he can from this race. He's trying to get past Ellie. I believe they are on the same pit strategy at this point. Both been on south, but it's a shame with Berserk because he was right in the top 10 and all of a sudden he's fighting for 13th with an extra pit stop to everyone now. So there'll be one fuming driver inside that car, let me tell you.
Also, someone in the chat told you, Callum, you need to go get a drink. I don't know why they said that. But apparently people are concerned about the dryness of your throat, I guess. So be aware.
I have been drinking my Coke, I don't know. I'll drink some more and see what happens.
A bit of a stalking battle is going on for the 6th position. EXR Meta has it, ESL Decoy wants it. Meta has more distance penalties than Decoy does right now. Though Meta is at 0.193, Decoy is at 0.128 at the moment. Oh, and Mamba is pitting now, and considering where the leaders are, this means that yes, Mamba will be the first driver to go a lap down in today's event.
I still wouldn't count out Preaviator yet. He is in this lap, but he's still slowly gaining on him, I feel.
I'm going to go ahead and knock out another ad break, so when we come back, we can catch our leaders knocking out their next round of pit stops and see where everyone's going to end up, because now our leaders have all deviated on each other's strategies at this stage of the event. So we'll be back in about 90 seconds here.
Lulu's making his 5th pit stop already.
Yeah, whatever's gone wrong with Zula, I have no idea, but 5 stops in 55. He's basically pitting once every 11 minutes. That means he's basically pitting on average like once every 5 laps. That's ridiculous, to say the least. I don't know what's gone on with him, but it's honestly catastrophic. He's going to go a lap down at the rate that it's going. Well, welcome back to Watkins Glen. Our focus is on ESV Green because our top 4 drivers, Pipes, Green, Avocado, and CJ, have all now deviated on their tire strategies. Pipes is still going about 15 to 16 minutes on soft tires without issue. Green, however, is on that same strategy, but he's pitted a lap earlier, so his tires will fall off sooner than the others. And then Avocado, who has fallen to 3rd, and CJ, who has fallen to 4th, they have put on medium tires, so they will be staying out on track for a lot longer, losing time potentially, but also potentially cutting out a pit stop and getting the worst of the tires out of the way early on. So we're looking at Green and want to see when is ESV Green going to go ahead and make a pit stop. Also, while we're away, Callum here went ahead and pointed out that NWR Zula has already made his 5th stop of the day. Most of the drivers are only about to look at their 4th or 5th. So whatever has happened to Zula has been absolutely catastrophic, and he is at risk of going not only a lap down, but being last of the runners in today's event with the way that it is going. Oh, it sounds like Zula, in the chat at least, someone is saying that Zula did not get the car refueled on his last stop, and that's why he had to make an extra stop. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that absolutely derails a race. You can kind of get away with it in some leagues where you have yellow flags, but this is all green flag to flag. That is basically derailed his day. All right, so where is Green going to end up in relation to Craviator and Meta? That is the real question, because if Green spends a lot of time fighting with the likes of Meta or Craviator, this could end up hurting him a bit, because he'll spend time dealing with other cars. I'm watching Meta as he's coming down to the final corner here. Green, has he come out of his pit box yet? Green has not come out of the pit box yet, but he only has to go half the distance up the straightaway. Meta is flying down the front stretch. Green still hasn't gotten into turn 1. If Meta ends up ahead of Green, this could be really problematic. Through the turn 1 now. Meta has a run.
Yeah,
he puts the power down. Meta's got ahead of Green. This could be very problematic for Green because now Green has to fight someone he's not been dealing with most of this race.
Now this could work into Pipe's strategy by staying out 1 lap longer than Green did.
One thing that could help Green, though, is that Meta is going to have to pit this lap. His tires are cooked. The good news is that means Green won't be behind Meta for a long time. The bad news, though, is that depending on where Green catches Meta, he could lose huge bundles, chunks of time. Oh, my boy. Green is already sucked right up to the rear wing of Meta. And it looks like Meta is going to be holding Green up in the toe of the boot, one of the most important corners on the track. Green gets right to the rear bumper of that Chevrolet. Meta has enough rear tire life. He's able to power out. Green has to try and go for the inside. So Green is not putting out clean laps. He is actually having to fight for this position. He'll get it without too much issue, but Green is going to lose a bit of time. And now Pipes is coming to the pits a lap later than Green. And Pipes should be in nice, clean air in comparison to what Green had to deal with. This also cycles NDL Avocado into the race lead, and NDL CJ, also who we've been calling Circle Jerk, will cycle him into second.
Where would Pipes come out is the question. It's really not paid off for Green because now Green's behind Beast Baller. Well,
yeah.
Will Beast Baller just let him through?
I imagine Beast Baller will let him through without too much issue, but you have to be careful. It's not just a matter of,
he's
get
letting
offline.
him
Yeah. Okay, he was able to just get offline. If Green caught him 2 seconds earlier, it would have held him up, but he caught him just as the track widened out of the S's, so Beast Baller was able to get out of the way. But still, Green was held up for about a lap.
Yeah, it looks like he's lost not much time, but he lost a little bit compared to Pipes.
Avocado and CJ are now your top two. The other thing to consider is that Craviator is still nowhere near green after that. So Craviator, I think, might be able to catch CJ Circle Jerk at the very end of the stint for fourth, but I think a top three is just not in the cards for Craviator today.
No, yeah,
he's put on a strong run, but it's just not happening.
To me, is CJ a little bit closer to Avocado than he's been for a while?
He is a little bit closer, but I have to wonder if maybe Avocado is just trying to nurse the tires, he doesn't want to push them too far, or maybe he's just not confident with how that Chevrolet feels on the medium compound. We have seen throughout most of the season that the M8 does seem to be competent on the mediums. Maybe the Chevrolet just doesn't feel as confident on the medium tires, and it's letting CJ close in a bit of time here. But with how big the gap is right now, I don't think CJ is going to be able to catch Avocado before this duo goes ahead and comes into the pit lane. 50% on the left front already for CJ. For Avocado, his tire life is at 51.4%. And we know almost for a fact that when this duo pits, they're going to be behind Pipes and Green. The big thing, though, is that if everyone is committed to running one stint on the mediums, these drivers have already knocked it out. They can go hard, run soft, they can go soft, and push their car hard on the soft tires to the end, while Pipes and Green may still have to pay the piper and run that harder tire set. The other thing as well, Green is off sequence by a lap and will really be suffering at some point later in the event due to tires that are going to be worn even more.
I've been watching the leaders overtake the back markers, and I will tell you the back markers are driving brilliantly. They're making sure to hold up the leaders and ensure they're racing anyway, which is good driving, because as we know, Mamba and Beastballer, they are still fighting for the, to avoid being the last place car.
This is just me. I'm a filthy American. I hate it when lap drivers just move over. My favorite kind, and I think is the best kind of racing, is when leaders actively have to figure out a way to fight and work their way around lap traffic. I believe that is where everyone puts on their best performance and their best shows. But I'm an American, and that is almost uniquely an American phenomenon. You never really see that outside of American racing. And I kind of wish we had that here, but this is, to be fair, a European-dominated league, and I'm not going to say, oh, you're doing it wrong. It's just a thing that I kind of like that. I will say, though, it's a good way to make sure that you don't get punched by Ayrton Senna. If you just roll over and let them by you, you'll never have to worry about getting punched by Senna.
And you definitely don't want to make enemies in this league. That's for sure.
Has opened up a gap on Beastballer for the 17th position. NWR Mav is the third to last car right now, and he will likely be the next driver to go a lap down. However, I think that's going to be a few laps before it happens. It seems like Mamba and Beastballer are kind of the odd men out in this scenario. And honestly, I think they're only going to go a lap down. I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as it was at Spa. Spa got really, really rough because the pace differential from car to car and the inability to keep the cars on track, just because Spa is a very difficult circuit to drive in general. We saw drivers going 2 laps down on what's honestly, I believe the second or third it's the third biggest track on the schedule. Yes, it was really, really rough. All right, here we go. NDL Avocado pitting out the lead. Is CJ going to join him? Yes, he will. So where is Pipes and where's going to Green? Where are Pipes and Green going to end up in relation to Avocado and CJ?
Now it's about to get spicy.
Pipes clears them without issue, and it looks like Green does the same. There's not even remotely an issue.
They've absolutely dropped them. They've gained so much time.
Uzora is going to pit, but Craviator is going to be by him. Craviator now cycles his Acura up in the 3rd position.
You know what we said? Craviator said we'll be on for top 3, but I don't know now. It's getting quite tight.
Again, the big thing, though, is that those 3 drivers at the front now, Pipes, Green, and Craviator, I know Pipes and Green have not run a medium set of tires yet. Craviator, I don't think has run mediums either, so Craviator could end up losing time as it goes on. And ESL Decoy, he was running top 10, and Decoy has suddenly dropped out of the event. We'll try to reach out to Decoy to see if we can get any words from him. Well, it looks like everyone's really spread out in the field now. There's not a whole lot of active fighting for positions at this stage of the race. I do see a bit of a fight, this is outside of the top 10 though, between a Mustang and a Mercedes. It's NWR Slow and ZR Berserk. Reminder, Berserk is on his own strategy. He knocked out a Stint on the mediums right at the start of the race, but as everyone else has finally paid their mediums tax, Berserk is kind of following himself, slipping back to about the position he was at earlier in that 10th, 11th, 12th area. A little bit less than an hour left in the event now. Berserk really struggling to get traction down smoothly enough to get by Slow in the toe of the boot. So now we're seeing what a Mustang handles like when it actually is under pressure. It has to defend from somebody behind. Slow seems to be putting together a respectable showing of it, honestly. P1R Bunter making another stop. Again, Bunter is kind of in his own strategy because he's able to push the tires an extra lap farther than everyone else. So Bunter might be able to go softs all the way. Oh, Slow slides off track and Berserk's. Yeah, here comes Berserk. Mercedes, does he have the power to get by? Yes, I think he does, because Slow has a straight line speed, but the car twitched on him coming uphill. He had to back out to save it, so Berserk now moves back into 10th position.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed these Mustangs, they're very twitchy on the rear end, and that's all that happened there. I don't think there was much Slow could have done to avoid that, unfortunately.
Craviator pits his Acura NSX out of 3rd position. This will cycle Avocado back to 3rd and CJ back to 4th. But the gap between Green and those two NDL drivers is absolutely massive. And something else that I don't think people were wanting to see, Green is starting to run pipes down. It's not by a lot, but he is running the gap down, cutting it down. So while Green will have to pay the piper in lap time at some point, right now, he is coming to life. He is outperforming the NDL drivers who all qualified ahead of him. I'm gonna be honest, I massively prefer this kind of racing over what we normally see, where Green qualifies 1st or 2nd, goes into the lead by lap 2, and just blitzes off on his own. He's actually really had to get his elbows out, fight for position, and manage and strategize his race. Even if Green puts this first stint of today's race together and wins, it's going to be a very well-earned win. It's not just been, oh, I'm really good at putting together lap times. He has really shown his ability as a racer in his ability to fight other drivers on track for a position and outthink and out-strategize him, which is something that we normally don't see from Green. So even if Green wins this, I will not complain. This has been a legitimately strong and smart showing from Green.
Pipes has really struggled this lap. I'm getting with tyre wear, but Green has absolutely closed that gap in a ton.
If you are just joining us, we've been at this for a little bit over an hour. This is a 2-hour stint. Pipe started 1st, Avocado qualified 2nd, CJ qualified 3rd, and Green qualified 4th. And the top 4 on the first round of the tire life at least. The top 4 were all pretty much nose to tail, but after the first round of stops, they all started spreading apart. Green and CJ had a very long, prolonged fight for third that they kind of traded back and forth for a while. And while Green has been faster, he's made some mistakes, fell behind, and what gave Green the position over CJ is that Green pitted a lap earlier. He's doing the undercut, so he'll have to pay the piper and deal with harder tire or more extreme tire wear later. But afterwards, both CJ and Avocado threw on the medium tires. We are expecting all drivers to run one stint on the mediums. Your leader for all this race thus far has been Pipes, but Green and NDL Pipes both have yet to run a stint on the medium tires. We're also keeping AI on JSR Aviator. While it's not likely he can steal a top 3 position, he may have the pace and the strategy that can let him nip by CJ, who we've also been calling Circle Jerk. It may let Aviator nip CJ for that 4th position by the end of this stint. The other thing we've been keeping an eye on has been distance penalties. If you're able to finish the stint with no distance penalties, you get an extra point. There are 3 drivers still in contention to do that. They are NDL Pipes, NDL Micro, and ZR Berserk. And Green pits a lap earlier than Pipes again, which is what he has been doing basically ever since he did the undercut early. How far behind Avocado and CJ is Green going to end up? Because this is going to be the big thing. If Green ends up well behind Avocado and CJ and spends a lot of time really struggling to catch them and get by them, he could be back in the hole all over again. Ooh, Avocado, big slide coming out of turn 1. Well, that's not even close. Green is still in pit lane. Now he's clear. But yeah, Avocado and CJ are well clear of Green at this stage of the event. So Green, good news, they're gonna have a lot of laps in clean air, but he is well behind Avocado and CJ now.
One thing to also keep a note of, Pipe still has no penalty. So even if Green catches and passes, he still has to build a bit of a gap to make sure he finishes P1.
It wouldn't be much of a gap, but real quickly, because 0.19, well, 0.01 would be 52 feet. Green has to be about 100 feet ahead of Pipes right now. That would be basically 30 meters for those of you who use communist units. He has to be basically 100 feet ahead of Pipes in order to take this position. 100 feet, that would be pretty hard to get around here, because the moment Green would get ahead of Pipes, Pipes would fall right into Green's draft and just kind of follow him around. All right, Pipes coming into the pits right now. Will Pipes maintain his lead over ESV Green? We know Avocado is going to cycle back to the lead of the event because Avocado and CJ are on an alternate strategy. Pipes already rolling down the start-finish line straight. Green out of the final corner. Green's got to run, but Pipes is in turn 1 already. They're going to be almost right on top of each other, but I think Pipes will have the position. Green's going to have a great head of steam, though. It looks like the gap is about where it already was before. Now, the gap will continue to slightly close all the way down to the bus stop chicane. But from my eyes, at least, it looks like the gap is about where it was before they pitted. Maybe a small amount shorter, but I think is about the same.
Yeah, I don't think much has changed there in terms of gap.
Ooh, Green into the dirt there. That's not going to help him.
I've noticed Green has been touching one of the barriers very slightly. You need to be a bit careful because if he keeps doing that, at one point it's going to bite him big time and it could spin him out.
We might be in an interesting kind of a sort of a holding pattern type thing when it comes to traffic, because NWR Zula has actually cycled his way back into the lead of the, well, back onto the lead lap, and Avocado is leading but is not massively catching Zula. Now we see Mav is going to be pitting this lap, so Mav will go back a lap down, but we may be seeing a really interesting scenario where a lot of drivers might be trying to gain where they want to be on the lead lap or not, based on their pit stops, it's not going to be a matter of having the lead drivers overtake you on track. It may just be a matter of where everyone's timing on when they're making stops or not will decide. And the big thing is, Mamba and Beast Ball are still close enough to fight for a position between each other. Mav and Zula are still in a position where they're still really fighting for each other with position as well. So we kind of have 3 different races. They're all starting to overlap at this stage of the race. You have the race for the lead, you have the race for what's basically 14th position, and then the race from 14th versus the leaders on if they want to stay on the lead lap or go a lap down or not. We're going to go ahead and knock out an ad break here. When we come back, we should catch Avocado and CJ making their next round of stops here.
Berserk could be actually tough now, you know. Just looking at the tire situation with everyone, yeah, he's got more fuel than the people behind him.
Yeah. Big thing is that Bunter, who is right behind Berserk, is on his own unique strategy where he's able to go a lap farther on the softs than everyone else. So Bunter might be able to go softs all the way through and might be able to cut out a pit stop. So Bunter might throw himself into like a 9th or 10th place finishing position at the very end of this just by virtue of cutting out a pit stop. I'm not saying it will happen, but I've been keeping an eye on that. That's what I feel like is going to happen.
Definitely possible. Better keep an eye on it and see what happens.
I will also say Berserk has done a great job keeping that car on track, no distance penalties whatsoever. Him, Micro, and Pipes are the only 3 guys who still have no distance penalties.
Yeah, this track is a nightmare for off tracks.
Really? I don't think it's that hard to stay on track here. I feel like this is one of the easier tracks to stay on at.
It's the bus stop mainly, because if you're just going a bit too quick and you go on the grass, the game does not like it. So it's like a risk reward.
I will say, I don't drive GT3 cars. I hate driving GT3 cars. I think they are the worst cars in this game to drive. So maybe it's more of an issue with the GT3 cars. I normally like cars that are of a lot more power, or way less power, or way less weight, or way more weight. I don't like GT3 cars because I just feel like they're all just kind of like a blob. They're middling in aero, middling in weight, middling in power. There's no one great strength to them. So maybe it's something that I've just not noticed while because I just don't drive these cars. I will say, as much as I don't like them, so enough people drive them that we almost always have a good show with them in anything I watch. So it kind of works out because I get to watch other people put on a good show and I get to not drive something I don't like. I won't complain about that. Yeah. The gap between Pipes and Green seems to have closed just a little bit more, but Green
DJ and Avocado gap is closed as well.
Yeah. I'll also say that Avocado has actually upped himself to over 1/10 of a mile worth of distance penalties, while CJ has less than 100 feet of distance penalties.
Well, CJ's in the pits. Yeah, they're both in the pits.
They're coming in the pits. And hey, look at something else. Look at the sky. Nighttime is starting to end. The track is going to get warmer. So the very ending of this stint, we are going to see the track temperature rise. What that means is that when you first come out of the pits, the tires will get up to temperature quicker, but more importantly, the tires will fall off even more significantly in the final stint. Drivers who have been able to comfortably go 16, 17 minutes on soft tires, all of a sudden may be really struggling at the end of that time. We could see drivers really struggling with tire fall off at the very end of this race just due to the track temps getting warmer here. And now, once again, Craviator is into third ahead of Avocado. But Craviator
Avocado's gone on mediums.
Again?
Looks like it. CJ has as well. They both got 38% of fuel, which is way too much fuel if they're on softs.
Could they be trying to cut out a pit stop?
It seems to be that way. And like you said, with the sun slowly starting to come out, with the track starting to get a bit warmer, maybe they've took note of that and avoiding the softs.
Well, if they're going to run the rest of the way on mediums, there could be one small advantage that Avocado and CJ would have. I don't think they'll be fast enough to catch traffic for the rest of the race. They would basically be running in cleaner air to the end. And oh my goodness, did the track just turn all of its lights off? I think the track turned its lights off. Or some of their lights off.
Yep, the head. Well, no, this has just got interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to see. So right now, there's enough cloud cover to keep the circuit relatively dark, but in about 10 minutes, so that will be about like 4 to 5 laps, we're going to start seeing enough sunlight that the track temps are going to really warm up. Now for Avocado and CJ, they're on medium tires. Those tires are already not great. They'll be able to go a little farther than normal. All right, here comes Craviator out of third position coming into the pits now.
I'm struggling to see the apexes here, and I'm on the outside of the car. I do not want to know what it's like for the drivers in these conditions at this point in time.
At this point, you're probably vibing enough with the track that it's probably not an issue. It probably feels like muscle memory at this stage.
Yeah.
NWR Zula and NWR Mav both are a lap down right now, and they are just about on top of each other. Zula has position over Mav, but the big thing is Mav only has 0.05 miles worth of distance penalty. Zula has over an eighth of a mile. So Zula has nearly 3 times the amount of distance penalties as Mav right now. So unless something changes here, this fight, while Zula may have it on track, Mav would have him at the end of this event. I will say one thing that's nice, and not to gloat, but I think one thing that really proves the point that Watkins is a lot easier to stay on track on. No one has eclipsed 0.2 of a mile worth of distance penalties today, while a month ago at Spa, we were seeing drivers at half a mile worth of distance penalties. So a lot of drivers are able to keep it on track a lot easier today, it seems. Deleve is pitting out of the 13th spot, so Deleve is actually going to fall right into the middle of this fight with Zula and Mav. Now, Deleve and Zula both honestly have had good pace, but have been snake bit by bad pit stops that have dropped them well farther down the order than they should be. So definitely keep an eye on that. Ruiz Racer, who we talked about earlier, ran the very first stint of the event on medium tires and has just been going all soft since. He is currently in the 8th spot, and he is nowhere near Uzora on track, but he has about half of the distance penalty of Uzora, so if you keep closing it down, might be able to clip Uzora for 7th. But again, we still have 37 minutes left in this event. CJ continues to slowly close the gap down between himself and Avocado, and Green is doing the same to Pipes. And again, we don't know, will Pipes and Green go ahead and jump onto soft tires or not? CJ's at 20%, and Avocado is at 23%. I don't know. I think Avocado and CJ might still be on softs. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they are on mediums. Where's Craviator? Well, unless Craviator has jumped on mediums as well, but I don't know. I can't really tell. I didn't see anyone else pit at the same time as Avocado and CJ. That is a pack of cars. That is a gaggle of cars. The leaders just got by them, so Pipes and Green have completely cleared them, but Bunter, Slow, all just got passed by the leaders just very recently. And they're in the middle of an active 5%. So I said earlier, I didn't think a lot of people were going to go a lap down, but Pipes and Green have honestly turned up the wick as this has gone on, and we're seeing more and more people go a lap down. Only the top 10 drivers are still on the lead lap right now.
Yep, and this could play into CJ's hands a little bit with him and Avocado about to join the back of the queue.
Yeah. Well, if this duo of Avocado and CJ are on soft tires, they should be able to make work of these guys easily. But if they're on mediums, it's going to be a pain getting by these drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Here's something interesting. Green has actually lost a bunch of time relative to Pipes.
Green's pit.
Oh, and here comes Green into the pits. But yeah, while they were navigating traffic, it seems like Pipes got through traffic way cleaner than Green did. All right, so we know Green's going to end up behind Avocado and CJ. If you're pitting now and you only want to make one more stop, you'd have to go 17 minutes. Well, about, honestly, closer to 18 minutes on the remaining 2 stints of soft tires.
Green is on soft, yeah.
Yeah. So for Green, he's going to have to stretch these softs out a long time, or he'll make his very last stint on the mediums. But yeah, you'd have to push the softs. Softs have, for most of the day, softs has gone about 15 to 16, maybe 17 minutes. I'm looking at potentially 18 minutes.
Deliver slow Avocado right down through the bus stop.
Well, Avocado will be absolutely fuming over that, I imagine.
Yeah,
CJ,
with his penalty as well.
Yeah, and CJ is now almost right behind Avocado, so we could see a fight, Chevrolet versus BMW M8 for the 3rd position. And the other thing to remember as well is that Craviator might be able to nick a position as well. The big thing, though, is that while CJ and Avocado are fighting, Craviator still has much more distance penalties than those two. But yeah, with CJ right behind Avocado and CJ having like 1/10 of the distance penalties that Avocado has, this almost guarantees CJ will clip Avocado for this position unless something crazy happens. Pipes pits now, and for Pipes, he can go 16 minutes and 16 minutes basically. What about 16, 17? Will honestly be 16 minutes and 16 minutes to the end on the soft tires. They shouldn't have to worry one bit about it. Pipes might be able to go this entire race without running mediums at all. It will be tight, but that would mean that every stint that he's been on will have been equally tight. CJ is tucked up right behind Avocado. Where is Pipes relative to Green? Green is flying down pit straight out of turn 1. Pipes has him, but again, the gap, I think the gap has shrunk very slightly in Green's favor. But the thing is, we're now about to enter the final quarter of this race. Green is not in a position where he's like, oh, I'm fine if I'm just gaining 5 to 20 feet a lap. He needs to start taking big chunks out so he can actually catch Pipes and get by him. Green has enough distance penalty right now that Green has to be about 100 feet ahead of Pipes at the end of this. And right now, he's honestly been running about that distance plus behind Pipes for most of this.
You know what, no matter what happens, who comes out on top in this race, Pipes has drove amazingly. To have kept all 3 of these drivers behind him at the very start of the race, have no penalties while the other 3 are tripping up over themselves. He's really good at keeping himself not getting too under pressure by the drivers behind. So no matter what happens, he's drove really well in this stint.
Yeah, and same thing goes for Green as well. Even if Green comes up short and only comes home second, it will still be an impressive run, considering that he is looking at easily coming home second and helping the NDL team as a whole, well, the ESV team as a whole, the ESV team extend their points lead overall and will give the next driver in the ESV team a 2nd place start for Stint 2. At the head of the field, we have a stalking battle. Avocado has it. CJ continues to run in Avocado's tire tracks, putting pressure on him, but is not close enough to really get alongside or really rattle his cage. So Avocado and CJ, we know this duo will have one more stop. But what tires are they going to be putting on? Because right now, CJ is at 51% with 30 minutes left in the event. Now, this duo can probably run 2 to 3 more laps, so probably knock that race time down to about 24, 25 minutes.
Well, he's going for it on the outside. Yeah, Avocado
he's got him.
Through.
Yeah, Avocado did not even try to put up any resistance. Avocado was like, all right, fine. I realize you're faster. Just go. But yeah, I think this duo can stay out for this lap and then say another 2 laps on track. Let me check their fuel again real quickly. 11% in the BMW, the Chevrolet, which has a smaller fuel tank, is at 11% as well. If this duo can run this entire lap and then 2 more laps, they can probably throw on mediums to the end. But if they do this lap and then 1 more lap, mediums to the end, they can do it, but it will be hard. The big thing is this duo is going to be slower than Pipes and Green. They have track position, but they're going to be slower. They're just going to continue to bleed out time as this goes on. This is going to get wacky. We are seeing strategy 1, strategy 2, and strategy 1A all kind of converging on top of each other at the very end of this stint. And I think it's pretty obvious Avocado's not going to get this because of his distance penalties being so high, but between CJ, Pipes, and Green, any of this trio could honestly steal this stint win on pure strategy alone.
I honestly see Avocado, if he gets a chance to let Pipes through, he would, and he'll just try and keep Green behind him. I've got a feeling that's what his game plan is going to be now for this race, just to try and help his teammates out.
Be a bold strategy, Pat. Let's see how it plays out for him. Less than 30 minutes left here at Watkins Glen. 62% tire wear on that left front for Avocado. He has at 8.6% fuel left in the tank. For CJ, he is at 61.6%. He has 7% left, so they could both probably run this lap and 1 more, but CJ just slid off there coming into the boot, so they're definitely dealing with some significant tire fall off right now, that's for sure. Pipes has caught traffic. That is a Mercedes to leave. And Pipes now has distance penalties, and not just that, Pipes has more distance penalties than Green. So all of a sudden, this fight between Pipes and Green swings in Green's favor. It's not much. It's 0.003 miles. You do the math. That is 15 feet, basically. That's basically a car length. So if this gap between Pipes and Green stays where it is now, Pipes would still have it. But if it gets much closer than this, they're in trouble.
Top 2 in the pits.
And they're doing it with 28 minutes left. CJ and Avocado, I'm going to be honest, I don't see any way that they can make medium tires last to the end. Or if they do, they just try to tough it out and thug it out. They are going to be hurting so bad at the end. Their tires are going to be in absolute nightmare land. Aviator is also pitted out 5th position. So Pipes goes to the lead once more.
I may have done a slight commentator's curse on Pipes after saying he's had no penalty always, and then a couple laps later, he finally gets a penalty. So that's on me.
Bah! I don't believe it. Bah! I don't believe in curses. But also, I will go ahead and say that if you curse them, then I will have triple cursed them because I've pointed it out 3 times today. So, bah! I don't believe in curses. We're going to knock out 1 more ad break, and it will be our last ad break. Afterwards, we'll go stay with this all the way to the end of the stint here at Watkins Glen.
Well, CJ must be on mediums, 37%. Avocado the same. Must be on mediums.
Cut out a pit. I mean, again, pit lane is so bloody long here, and you lose so much time on pit road.
Because softs will not last for this amount of time, so they've kind of had to go on mediums.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know if the mediums will last long enough.
No, I don't know.
Especially with the track temp heating up.
It's gonna get spicy.
Yeah, this is going to get wild. EXR Meta is the first driver to get past the 0.2 miles with the penalty mark. Again, the big thing is, I don't think CJ or Avocado will catch traffic basically for the rest of this event.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, there is Zula ahead of them, but I think it's more likely that we'll see Zula make one more stop before this is over. I could be wrong, but that's why I imagine it would be the case at least.
Avocado.
Oh no! Welcome back to Watkins Glen, and it's all gone wrong. Pipes now at 0.044 miles in time of distance penalty. ESV Green has closed in and is only at 0.019. So in the end, ESV Green is on track to win this stint. But this time it looks more like he won it because all of the NDL teammates have thrown the time away.
That's so unfortunate. Pipes just needs to get his head down now and just push as fast as he dares.
There's no way you can push enough to outrun that distance penalty. That would be a 0.025 miles. You do the math, 0.01 is about 0.01 would be about 52 feet. Pipes needs to get basically 125 feet ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't look likely,
I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Well,
they're not
going to catch a mistake.
Yeah, Green's made one mistake. Oh, and Pipes just had a big mistake going to the bus stop. Yeah, this is over, I think. Yeah, pressure's too high. Also, I think that it's not helped that Pipes, we believe, has already ran a very low aero profile on the rear wing of that car. It's one thing to do that when the track is nice and cool, but now the track's temperature is warming up as we are in the daylight hours. You're going to have even less downforce in a warmer air and warmer track temperature. Pipes' rear end is going to be feeling absolutely evil now. I see no way that Pipes can make this happen. No.
He's made too many mistakes in a lap and a half, so I don't think there's a chance for him now, unless Green gets another off track. But Green to be aware of what's going on, and he'll be sure not to get off track for the rest of this race.
Yeah. We still don't know, though, where this duo is going to end up in relation to CJ and Avocado, because this duo is going to have to pit one more time due to tire fall off, and CJ and Avocado will not have to pit again. The only other thing I will say is that Green is still one lap behind Pipes, so Green may have to deal with some incredibly hard fall off at the end of this stint and the end of the final stint, but considering how throughout most of the day Green has been the best on managing his pace as the tires fall off, it may not be as much of an issue for him. I don't know, it's going to be interesting. We'll have to see Green push those tires farther than anyone else has done in a Mercedes today.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. I've got a slight suspicion Green will be in this lap though. Looking at his tyre situation, it don't look great.
Well, if he comes in now, he will be cooked in the final run. But he's looking cooked now anyway, so
it's an interesting one, what he does here. He's going to lose a bit of time either way, I think, because Avocado and CJ, they're definitely on mediums. So if Green stays out an extra lap this time, he's going to lose time, but then
he's either has to pay the Piper now and stay out an extra lap this time, or pay the Piper at the very end of the race.
Exactly. we'll see what happens.
Imagine the scenes if CJ
Yeah,
ends up winning this against Green. I don't think that will happen, but yep, here it comes. So where is he going to end up in relation to CJ and Avocado? That is the big question. And is Avocado going to really fight to keep Green behind, try to back Green up and away from CJ? Or is it going to be every man for himself? They both easily clear Green going down the straight.
Well, CJ's got to get past the leaf again.
That is a big gap. CJ and Avocado are way ahead of Green with 20 minutes left. Now again, this duo's medium tires were really hurting earlier. They're going to be really hurting at the end. But Green's going to be hurting as well. This is going to get funky, but CJ might be in a position to steal this stint win on just cutting down a pit stop and running a little bit longer on the mediums. I could be wrong.
I did not expect this comment, but...
Yeah. Pipes will likely come in and pit this time around, but Pipes will have to push the soft tires 18 minutes. He'll still be better off than Green, but not by much, and he'll still have a track position disadvantage to CJ and Avocado.
You might get a little bit of slipstream of Zulu as well here. It won't be much, but any little bit helps at this stage of the race.
Even if Green did not put on softs, if Green put on mediums to the end, it's not going to matter because he now has such a massive track disadvantage against CJ and Avocado. He goes so far behind the two of them. He basically has to be on softs to have any sort of chance to run them down. All right, here we go. Leaders are by. CJ goes to the lead of the race once more. We have seen all three NDL drivers lead this race at some point or another. And now it is CJ, who qualified third, spent most of the day fighting for third position, who is leading in the closing 18 minutes. But will his tires hold up? Will he minimize his mistakes? What about Green?
I think Green's
what
on
about
mediums.
Pipes?
He's put 56% of fuel in his car, which is the highest it's been all race.
Pipes, with 18 minutes left, he's at 38%. I think Pipes is on softs again, so Pipes is going to be in an interesting position. I think Pipes has the speed to rush up and catch, or not maybe not catch, but get right behind CJ and Avocado, and then with about 8 minutes left, he's going to bleed off and lose all that time and distance again. But if Green's on mediums, he could be in real trouble because Pipes might be able to run these laps on soft tires, open up the gap enough that they actually keep Green behind.
Yeah, Pipes had to do this. He had to go on softs because he knows he ain't going to win the race by doing the same strategy as Green is. So he's got to try something different. So we'll see if it works out for him.
It's been BMW at the front most of the day, but it has been BMW M4 in the form of Pipes leading the majority of this race. But now, in the closing minutes, it is looking more and more likely that will be CJ who will end up winning this event. I mistimed my calculation on ads, and I do apologize for that. I'm going to knock out one now because they were saying I'm required to run another ad in 12 minutes. I'm going to knock out one now, so that way we can run to the end, and I do apologize for that. But don't go away, because we'll be back and watch how these interesting twists and turns unfold here at Watkins Glen for P1R's endurance event.
I didn't even see this coming.
Yeah,
I expect CJ to be going for the win.
I thought CJ and Avocado would end up like even with Pipes and Green, and then would just kind of bleed off time in like the last 2 laps. This is a gigantic track position advantage, though.
Yeah.
And Pipes is not closing on them like I thought he would. I thought Pipes would immediately start running down. Also, Craviator has actually gotten ahead of Green.
Oh, he has.
Yeah. Now, Craviator has a bunch of distance penalties, and his tires are cooked, so we know Craviator has to pit again.
Yeah.
But the fact that Green has been caught by someone else who's really not a factor in this, I think it really goes to show that Green's strategy has kind of fallen apart.
He's just been very unlucky, hasn't he? He's got the pace, like but he made the mistake. And
his decision to pit a lap early to get by CJ earlier in the event looked like a great idea, but every pit stop he's had afterwards, he's had to deal with traffic either on the in lap or the out lap. I'll give Green credit. He has put on a race-winning drive on his part, but the strategy has really been what's bit him more than anything else, I feel.
Yeah, because he hasn't been able to do that extra lap for one of the ones, has he? Which he would have been required to do.
Yeah, he's basically forced himself to do the extra lap now on what we think is medium tires. Yeah, Pipes is definitely on softs. That's honestly going to be the biggest interest, is going to be how close can Pipes get to the leaders, which he's obviously not going to get there, and then how close can Pipes, how far can Pipes stay ahead of Green. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. 14 minutes left, and I can actually officially confirm now we will be running here to the end of this event with no more breaks, going to the checkers with no more breaks. But Pipes has led the majority of the race. Green started fourth. Looked like, at some points, it looked like he could snipe the win from Pipes. But as the turns have tabled, it appears that Green is going to be relegated to a fourth place finish. Maybe he can get third, but it looks like a fourth place finish is the best he can deal with. Pipes has caught traffic, though. The leaders are pitting! What is this? What is going on? CJ and Avocado are pitting with 13 minutes left. Why are they doing this? They had the distance. They had the time. Why are they pitting?
This has just turned disastrous for them too. It's all rolling now, but Green is going to get past them.
Pipes has to go way off track as he is held up by Baseballer in the form of traffic. That gives a bunch of time back to Green. What is going on? What is this strategy? Are they just sacrificing the races to help to knock out Green?
Zula has disconnected.
Zula does that with just 13 minutes left in the event. But Green is second. CJ and Avocado are both right behind Green. Green is on medium tires. If this duo put on softs, could they be trying to catch Green and try to push Green?
Look how much CJ has just closed on him in the bus stop alone there. That gap, there won't be a gap by the end of this lap. I guarantee that, looking at this.
Are they compromising their races just to team up and gangbang Green and force him down the order? Is that what we're seeing?
Green is in big trouble here. He's in very big trouble now.
There is not a thing Green can do, because if this duo gets by him, they're just going to push him back and push him back.
Yeah, he's going for it now. Here we go.
And the other thing as well is that Pipes is on soft tires, but his soft tires are not likely to last to the end of this event.
And the both absolutely get past Green at one go.
That's not even close.
No, so can they put down Pipes in time?
I think they may have sacrificed their race just so Pipes wins by default. I wonder if that's what's going on. Is CJ and Avocado sacrificing their race so Pipes wins anyway? They had the winning strategy. Yes, their tires were going to be hurting, but they had the race winning strategy because they had so much track distance on Pipes and Green. And now the two of them are just racing off into the distance. They're racing off fast enough. There's a possibility that Avocado will outrun his distance penalty and still get third ahead of Green. And we could be looking at BMW 1-2.
BMW 1-2, NDR 1-2-3. Green will be absolutely kicking himself with the strategy he's done in this race.
That decision to pit a lap early has really hurt him, but now I think the thing that's really hurt him is that the NDL guys came out just to kind of really rub salt in the wound. They have now positioned themselves. They positioned themselves behind Green, got by him in a part of the track you don't normally see a lot of overtakes at, and now they're gapping Otto. It's not only a matter of, hey, we're gonna finish ahead of you. They threw away a 1-2 finish to give it to their teammate just to go out there and play defense and really get in Green's head. I think this may be more of a bigger strategy. Everyone's known all season long, okay, the ESV guys, and Green especially has been the fastest guy. I think this is a psychological strategy. They're going out and saying, look at this. We gave up a win, and we still were able to defeat you. I think this is a psychological play, trying to get into Green's head and put him behind the 8 ball in the mind games.
I can see Avocado get a third here. Despite his penalty, I think he's still going to get third.
Yeah, he is blowing away Green right now, and those soft tires that they put on are not going to fall off one bit to the end here. Really, the only real wild card left to take note of is Pipes. We don't know how well he's going to be able to manage his tires to the very end. He has a good gap on CJ and Avocado. I think he should still win it, but we do have to keep an eye on. There's only one more car that can be potential traffic ahead of him. That is who is that? That is 15th place H-Wire Mamba, who would go a second lap down. Oh, real quickly, I do want to talk on something else real quickly. NDL Micro in 8th and ZR Berserk in 9th. Now, granted, there is time for it to still go wrong, but they are in position to finish this race with no distance penalties, which is an extra point in the championship. So, if they can keep that together, it would be absolutely impressive. But ZR Berserk has to pit now, and that will drop him down the grid, likely out of the top 10, I imagine. No, I don't think that will drop him out of the top 10. Slow is way too far back.
It's been a very good recovery drive on Berserk. After what happened earlier, he's made his way back up the order, didn't let it panic him. He just started to race his own race, and you can see it's paid off for him. So it's good to see him back in the top 10.
Another driver who I would say is on a great recovery drive is Indio Uzora. Uzora has spent a lot of the races this season just absolutely struggling. Bad strategy, being involved in incidents, bad everything. But Uzora is putting together a 6th place run. The only thing is that the top 5 have been absolutely in a zip code of their own, that he's not really been able to do it. But I think Uzora would take 6, considering that this would probably be his best finish. Also, unless I'm wrong, that would be the highest placed Ford. There were 3 Ford Mustang GT3s entered today, but the Ford GT looks like is going to finish ahead of all of them.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I mean, it's still been a good show for the Mustangs. Yes, they still have a bit of pace, but like I said, it's their first time in the car. They have shown some pace. They have been able to fight other cars, so it's not been a bad event for them, I don't think.
Pipes is really struggling bad with traffic, and CJ is actually starting to run Pipes down just a little bit. CJ is also opening up the gap between himself and Avocado in this final sprint to the end. Avocado's gap over Green has pretty much stabilized, but that's still going to be about 0.150 miles. So that's going to be an 1/8 of a mile. 8 goes into 5,280. It's got to be 600 feet. Basically, my mental math calculations, Avocado has to get about 600 feet ahead of Green. I don't know if that's going to happen. Green might. There's a big if, but he might be able to clip Avocado for 3rd here. But considering everything he's been doing all day today, if 3rd by distance is the best that Green can do, that's got to be absolutely frustrating. And again, Avocado could still put some laps together and open up the gap potentially. The big thing is Avocado is on softs, Green is on medium, so Green's not exactly going to gain any faster. Avocado is not going to be getting any slower.
CJ will be able to see Pipes now, which will be the first time we saw Pipes in a while, so that'll give him more encouragement to fight and push even harder than he has been. But he's got to get past Lowy, who's not getting out of the way. But he could run wide, that's one way to do it.
Big thing is that in distance penalties, Pipes has a disadvantage to CJ. It's about a 0.028 mile disadvantage. So if you think that 53 feet is 0.01, that gap is honestly about 3 times that. So it'd be about 150 feet, I believe, would be the difference between Pipes and CJ. Is CJ going to get within 150 feet of Pipes? That's the real question.
Yeah.
There's still more traffic. That's Mamba that CJ has to navigate around now. I will say this has been a fantastic event. Spa was kind of probably the roughest event of this season in terms of just not really having anything go on. But today, this has honestly been really interesting with big strategies up and down the field, especially among the top 4. And this still is not over. A little less than 5 minutes left. Is CJ gonna get within about 150 feet of Pipes to try and steal the win from his teammate at the very end? CJ had the winning strategy, but him and Avocado both pitted with about 13 minutes left, got onto soft tires. Is CJ still going to steal the win off of Pipes despite making an extra unneeded stop?
This is going to be extremely tight.
But one way or another, we are basically guaranteed a BMW victory here.
Yeah.
Which, in a season that has been dominated by Mercedes, I don't know, German domination still, German engineering domination still, but a different manufacturer at least definitely shakes things up. And honestly, even if Green, who isn't a Mercedes, still won this, it's not been an easy walk-off by any one driver or manufacturer. We've seen Chevy, BMW, and BMW all leading here at the front. Like, this has been very, very, very interesting. I'm honestly shocked at how close this has gotten and how interesting on strategies this has gotten. And with 3 minutes left, that gap between Pipes and CJ is collapsing with speed. They will complete this lap and run part of one more lap afterwards.
I think CJ's got it. I'm going to say now, I think CJ is going to get this.
.200 feet, apparently. I went and typed into the calculator on my phone real quickly what it would be. CJ has to be within 200 feet of Pipes. No, wait, I calculated that wrong. 147 feet, sorry. So can CJ get within 147 feet of Pipes to steal this? We are guaranteed a BMW 1-2. But is it going to be the BMW M8 Big Boy? Or is it going to be the BMW M4 GT3? Two minutes left. The gap between Avocado and Green, for Avocado to still finish third, it has to be 770 feet right now. And I'm going to be honest, that is looking more and more possible because Avocado is maintaining pace and Green is just absolutely nowhere. It's that 700. I don't know if it's 700. That gap is 770 feet, but the gap is most definitely continuing to grow. That could end up going in Avocado's favor. We could see the top 3 still be all NDL drivers.
I think CJ has got it, you know.
Yeah, I think CJ's going to get it. A minute left.
What could have been for Pipes if he did not get them penalties?
And what is for Circle Jerk? Circle Jerk started third, and we were not seriously talking about him winning this race for most of the day. We were more focused on him fighting with Green and trying to keep Green behind him for the first half of the event. But now they got on a different strategy, had one winning strategy, threw that one away to get onto a different winning strategy. And Circle Jerk, unless he has a big mistake here in this last half minute, he's going to win here at Watkins Glen. Real quickly, I take a look at Pipes' tires. 58%. They're not completely dead, but they are not getting any younger. He is continuing to bleed time away. If Pipes wins this, it's going to be by feet. Mere feet. As we look at the time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Over. Plow. Pipes got him.
Pipes got it.
Pipes did get it in the end. The gap was just big enough, and Avocado maintains his position over Green. But look at how close that gap was between them.
Wow.
And NDL locks out the top 3 positions. NDL 1, 2, 3. BMW 1, 2 with 2 completely different cars at that. And ESV Green has to be absolutely flabbergasted at what he saw happen. But look at that gap. The total distance between Pipes and CJ. That is a distance of only about 34... 0.034 miles. I'll calculate that to feet real quickly for everyone. Phone, don't act up on me. That would be 179. So it was about 180 feet that Pipes got it over CJ. Incredible. So Pipes wins, and Circle Jerk jerked off to Pipes to get Avocado into 3rd position. All right, enough on that. But anyways, we're going to make this a little bit more respectful now, and we're going to knock out an ad break here and then try to talk to our top 3 finishers here at Watkins Glen.
Another thing to point out, look at the top 7, all different cars.
Oh, I did not notice that, yeah.
Wow.